Hello, Willie Stewart. How are you, buddy?
You know it. I'm good, man. How are you?
Uh, I'm great. You are always good, and thank you very much for your time today to be on our VR show. It's good to see your smiling face as always.
Yeah, well, thanks, buddy.
Well, I told everybody on the introduction, one thing I didn't know. I knew you lost your arm in a construction accident. Heck, yeah, the traffic was bad. You ran to the hospital holding yourself to get there. But I didn't know you were 18 years old. And I'm thinking back to me and others and buddies at 18 years old, the world in front of us, not a care in the world. You're working a construction job. How how was an 18-year-old able to cope mentally with what happened to him? How'd you cope with that?
It's going back. It's 40 years ago this month. And the funny thing about it is, I don't think I coped very well with it. And then ultimately, Mike, I'm telling you, ultimately, it was when I got the confidence to not care about how I look and get back on the starting line. Basically get back in the game, get back on a bike, get back on my running shoes. Start training again, and that was a really healing process at that time, and that was 1980, man. So there wasn't a lot of
Oh,
role models out there for me, and it's a lot different now, buddy.
yeah, it is, and it's interesting because you you embraced it early on. My gosh, your moniker is One Arm Willie. You wouldn't go around, and sometimes when I've said that to you, or I've heard other people say, "Hey, One Arm Willie, how you doing, buddy?" And
Yeah,
others around who don't know you kind of cringe, like, "Oh my gosh, how can you do that?" But
yeah,
you embracing it seemed to pull you out of depths that others have gone into because they go, "Oh my gosh, I've only got one arm." But the way you looked at it, hey, I got another good arm and two good legs. I can go do what I want to do.
you know how it is, dude. I owned it, and I said, "Hey, that's who I am. If you think that's bad, fine. I'm loving who I am." And it's like, you know how Iron Man, you go across the finish line, and you've been in the porta potties in the Leahy Drive. There is nothing perfect in this world, and the fact is, we all are about the same. And so, if I can go and fall down like Julie Moss did across the finish line and drag herself up and do it, it's like we all are the same, man. We're in the same boat. So let's celebrate who we are, not who we're not. And I love it that you say that, because it was when I called myself One Arm Willie, Matt. I loved myself. I said I loved who I am, but prior to that, I didn't. And so that's where we are now today.
And
40
I think
years
a
of
lot of it,
love.
because we share the same. I wrestled in high school and college. You were an all state wrestler up in the state of Washington. And there's something about wrestlers who get into endurance sports. We've gone through such hard 2, 3 hour workouts. And that always seemed tougher to me than being on the bike for 7 hours. Wasn't that
Yeah,
amazing? Was the
yeah,
correlation there for you?
yeah. I think wrestling. People don't realize there's nothing good about that sport. You go in, you're not liking it in practice. You get done with practice, you're not liking it. You don't get to go eat. And you know what? You stink, you smell, you're sweaty. It's really not a very rewarding sport, but for some reason, psychos like us love it. So, and it was a great sport for me. It made me tough as nails, I'll tell you that. And I don't think I'm that great of an athlete, Mike. I think what I have is grit, and that's what I think that's what was really cool about CAF is we started celebrating grit, and that's how I got on the line at Kona. So that's those are the things I love, man.
Yeah, the Challenge Athletes Foundation that you're a big part of, and it's got to be very gratifying and satisfying because you've been there when you've given wheelchairs to young boys and girls or new legs to them, and they look up to you as their mentor. But the give back and what you must take in because you're able to do that with the CAF has to be so rewarding.
Yeah, well, you know it. I mean, there's one thing taken, and there's another thing given, and being able to give back to other people was really healing for me, and I think it's healing for everyone. It's really good to take care of your brothers and sisters, and we're all in it together, and I'll always say that, and that's why I love my Ironman family. I mean, it was one of the first sports that I came back to after my disability that accepted me for who I was and gave me that opportunity to race. And they do it for all colors, all abilities. I've seen people with cerebral palsy come across the finish line at Ironman. I've seen people with ALS like Blaze Man roll across the finish line. And those guys I will never, ever forget. And those guys inspire me to this day. So I really appreciate you, buddy.
Well, it's interesting. You did Kona your first year. Was it 2003?
I think it was
2000
202. 202.
to 2002. Well, here you are. You're under the PC division, the physically challenged division, which for you, I think that's a crap because I tell you what, you go 10:54. I mean, my goodness, you're breaking 11 hours and it's like you should be in an age group because I think you'd be top five. But the physically challenged division is there for you and others like you. But
Yeah.
did you think you were going to go sub 11 hours for goodness sakes?
At that point, I've always believed that I could do stuff. I had those 2 years after I lost my arm and believe I could do anything. And I just wanted to go as hard as I could for as long as I could. You know how it is at Kona, everything unraveled. But I did it. And the best part about not really the time was the fact that when I started that race that year in 2002, I swam right up to the start line with the pros. And what everyone said to me? Let's go at it, Willie. Didn't say like you don't belong here. They said let's go at it and good luck. And that's what we did. We went at it for 11 hours, and luckily I had a pretty good day that day. But there's a lot better than me now coming out there, and I love
it. Well, you led the way. You've got to be proud of that. And the family that we're a part of in endurance sports, and you've done Xterra multiple times, obviously Ironman a few times, and 70.3s. So what's on you? What was on your agenda for 2020 until obviously it was all interrupted?
I'm always big into the high altitude stuff, but I still got pretty good events coming up. I do some time trial. I have a 400-mile mountain bike race coming up, and it's a time trial start, so it's an isolation race. You're out there for 4 or 5 days by yourself. Let's see what happens with that.
Now, sometimes I've seen you on the mountain bike have a prosthetic on your arm, and other times not. Why do you go back and forth? What's the advantage, disadvantage?
Well, just recently I got knocked out because my mountain bike arm broke in half in a pretty hairy turn. So the advantage, though, when it works, it's pretty phenomenal. But when you first knew me, Mike, I didn't have an arm. And then slowly but surely, I worked my way into an arm. And by 2007 at Kona was the first time I ever wore a prosthetic in Ironman.
Wow. I didn't. I knew you did wear it. I just didn't know when that all started. That's amazing.
Yeah. In the first 3 years, I didn't have an arm. And the arms I have now are pretty amazing, but they fail just like everything. And when they fail, it tends to be an epic crash. And that's what just happened to me. But I'm solid. I'll be back.
You know how many quote unquote triathletes have said after the swim, my arms have failed me? When you say it, it's for real. Everybody else is just bitching and moaning,
Yeah, I was talking to Bob Babbitt the other day. I mean, I can't tell you how many races because I race a lot of dirt, how many times my arm has fell off and I've left it 2 turns back and I have to run back up the trail to go pick it up and say, excuse me, sorry, I'm going to just go get my hand.
I can imagine the other athletes. And then knowing you probably repassed those guys.
Dude, it's kind of, a lot of people don't know this, but when I lost my arm up on the roof of the Watergate building, I picked up my hand and gave it to a guy and said, hey, could you bring this to the hospital as I took off? So I've been picking up my arms now for 40 years all over the place.
That is just golden. Well, adversity has been a part of your life, but you haven't seen it that way. But right now, Willie, we're all going through a difficult time in our lives, and the whole world's in the same boat. What has all your adversity taught you to get through the times of today, and the type of advice you can give all our great age group athletes out there, your family?
My brothers and sisters of triathlon and sport, they know what the best medicine is. And it's not how you look, it's just getting out there and doing it and being role models for others. And the more you stay active, the more you can encourage others. And through activity, we sometimes can bridge that gap of loneliness. And my peeps, the disabled population, tend to be very lonely and isolated. So just encouraging everyone to get back out there. And I happen to be in a wilderness state, but man, get on your trainer. Don't stop exercising. We'll come out of this, guys, and we'll come out of it better. I'll guarantee you that's one thing. We're going to come out of this better than we were before because we're all in this together. Support one another, lift each other up, and keep at it. And don't stop. I mean, the fact is, don't stop. Bill Bell, you know Bill Bell, those older guys that raced Ironman. That's the way I
Yeah.
want to go out, and that's the way we all should want to go out. We all want to go out racing sideways.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, that's been amazing, Willie, and you are a true inspiration and a mentor. I love your adage of the activity can kind of do away with depression and it can do away with those lonely feelings. So keep active out there. And you're a gregarious guy. We love being around you, and I can't wait the next time I'll be able to call you something when you cross the finish line. But I know one thing for sure: I'll bring you in as One Arm Willie.
You know I'm going to be back too. I just need an invite.
All right, brother. Well, take care of yourself and good luck on that 400-mile mountain bike race. Don't lose your arm, dude.
I will. Hey, and I love you guys. You don't ever forget that. I love you guys.
All right, Willie. Aloha.
Aloha.